The lobby buzzed with the clatter of polished heels and hushed conversations, but none of it registered to Marcus Johnson. His grip tightened on the handle of his suitcase as he approached the front desk of the Lux Horizon Hotel. His hotel. The marble floors gleamed under crystal chandeliers, a testament to the empire he'd built from scratch. But today, the air smelled less like luxury and more like irony. The receptionist, a sharp-faced woman with a practiced smile, didn't glance up. Not when he cleared his throat. Not when he said, "Checking in." Her eyes flicked to his faded jeans, his scuffed sneakers, the duffel bag he'd thrown on at the last minute. "Service entrance is around back," she said flatly, already turning to the next guest, a white man in a tailored suit. Marcus froze. "Service entrance?" The words hung like a punchline. He'd designed this place to feel like home for everyone, but right now he was invisible in his own house. 3 blocks away, 17-year-old Jamal Thompson shifted uncomfortably on the crowded city bus. His headphones blasted old-school hip-hop, but the rhythm couldn't drown out the stares. The pregnant woman standing near him, pale, sweating, one hand gripping a pole, had been eyeing the priority seating sign for minutes. No one moved. Not the guy in the suit scrolling Instagram. Not the college students laughing over memes. Jamal's knee bounced. His mom's voice echoed in his head. "You see someone struggling, you act. No excuses." He yanked his headphones off. "Here," he muttered, standing up too fast. The woman blinked, surprised, then sank into the seat with a grateful sigh. "Thank you," she said. But Jamal was already slouching toward the back, avoiding the mix of side eyes and nods. Back. At the Lux Horizon, Marcus leaned forward, his voice low but razor sharp. "Run my name," he said to the receptionist. "Marcus Johnson. Now." Her smile twitched, but she typed. Color drained from her face as the screen loaded. CEO, owner, the man she'd just dismissed. Her mouth opened. No sound came out. Marcus didn't wait. He turned, heart hammering, and strode toward the elevators, but a security guard stepped into his path, hand raised. "Sir, you need to leave." On the bus, the woman rummaged through her purse, pulled out a crumpled napkin, and scribbled something. When Jamal stumbled off at his stop, she pressed it into his hand. "For later," she said, her voice urgent. He unfolded it as the bus pulled away. "Meet me tomorrow, 10 a.m., 450 Park Ave. Ask for Eleanor." A phone number, and a single sentence that made his breath catch. "You've got a gift. Let's talk." Marcus stood statue still in the lobby, security's walkie-talkies crackling around him. He could end this now. One call, and the entire staff would scatter like roaches. But humiliation burned hotter than anger. This wasn't just about him. How many others had they turned away? How many Jamals, quiet and unseen, had they erased? His phone buzzed. A board member. He ignored it. Let them wait. Let them all wait. Jamal stared at the napkin, ink smudged by the woman's sweat. 450 Park Ave, the kind of address you saw in movies. Was this a joke? A trap? He'd heard stories about white folks rewarding black kids for being one of the good ones. But her eyes hadn't looked patronizing. They'd looked haunted. Like she'd seen something in him he hadn't seen himself. As the sun dipped below the skyline, 2 men, one in a boardroom, one on a sidewalk, faced the same question. What happens when the world refuses to see you? And what do you do when it finally does? Marcus's finger hovered over his phone's contact list. Jamal's thumb brushed the napkin's edge. Somewhere, a clock ticked. Choices loomed, and the city held its breath. Marcus didn't sleep that night. The penthouse suite of the Lux Horizon, meant to be his sanctuary, felt like a gilded cage. He paced past floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights blurring into streaks of gold. His mind replayed the lobby scene on a loop. The receptionist's dismissive glance. The security guard's hand raised like a stop sign. He'd built this hotel chain to prove that luxury didn't have to mean exclusion. His own mother had scrubbed floors in places like this, her hands raw from chemicals, her name never known. "We don't belong here," she'd whisper when they'd pass grand hotels on their walk home from school. Marcus had vowed to change that. Now, standing in a $5,000 suit, he wondered if anything had changed at all. Down in the hotel's underbelly, the night staff buzzed with gossip. Janitors mopping hallways swapped theories about the angry man who'd confronted the front desk. "Probably another influencer trying to scam a free stay," snorted a bellhop, polishing brass handles. None of them knew Marcus's face. The board had insisted on keeping his photo out of press releases. "Let the brand speak for itself," they'd said. Now the irony tasted bitter. At dawn, Marcus rode the service elevator down. He needed to see the hotel through their eyes, the workers who clocked in before sunrise. The basement hallway reeked of bleach and burnt coffee. A young Latina woman in a housekeeping uniform nearly collided with him, her arms stacked with linens. "Disculpa," she mumbled, eyes downcast. Marcus reached to steady her load. "What's your name?" he asked. She froze, then whispered, "Rosa." Her badge said, "Temporary staff." "No benefits, no insurance." Another broken promise. Jamal showed the napkin to his mother over stale cereal. Their kitchen table wobbled, one leg propped with a phone book. "Park Avenue," she said, lips tight. "That's where rich folks play games with people. Like us." She'd worked 3 jobs since Jamal's dad vanished. Delivery gigs, night shifts, anything to keep the lights on. Her hands, calloused and forever tapping calculators, gripped her coffee mug. "You don't owe that woman nothing," she said. But Jamal saw the flicker in her eyes, the same look she'd had when his art teacher said his sketches were good. Enough for a trade school scholarship. Like hope was a grenade you couldn't afford to pull the pin on. He went anyway. The subway ride to Park Avenue felt like crossing into another dimension. Glass towers speared the clouds, their lobbies guarded by men in uniforms fancier than Jamal's prom suit. 450 Park Ave was all steel and shadows, a minimalist nightmare. The receptionist, a man with a jawline sharper than his tailored blazer, sneered when Jamal said Eleanor's name. "Penthouse B," he drawled like the words tasted expensive. The elevator played classical music. Jamal's reflection in the mirrored walls looked small, his hoodie swallowing his frame. The doors opened to a living room larger than his entire apartment. Sunlight poured through arched windows, glinting off abstract sculptures that probably cost more than his mom made in a decade. A woman stood by a grand piano, her back to him. Blonde hair swept into a sleek bun, a silk dress hugging her pregnant belly. She turned and Jamal's stomach dropped. It was her, the woman from the bus, but different. Her cheeks were gaunt, her eyes rimmed red. "You came," she said, voice cracking. "I wasn't sure you would." Marcus sat in Rosa's break room nursing bad coffee. The fluorescent lights hummed. She'd agreed to talk after he promised not to get her fired. "They say we're family here," she muttered, picking at her nails. Chipped purple polish. "But family don't make you work doubles without overtime." Her son had asthma. The hotel's insurance didn't cover inhalers. Marcus's chest tightened. His board had voted down expanded healthcare last quarter. Too costly. His phone buzzed again. This time he answered. "Marcus, where the hell are you?" barked Richard, his COO. "The investors are here. We need you to charm them at brunch." Marcus watched Rosa tie her apron, her hands trembling slightly. "Cancel brunch," he said, "and call an emergency board meeting." "You're not serious. Tell them we're auditing every hotel, starting today." The line went silent. Marcus hung up, his pulse roaring. This wasn't just about him anymore. Eleanor gestured to a velvet couch. Jamal stayed standing. "Who are you?" he demanded. She flinched, then opened a drawer, pulling out a newspaper. The headline screamed, "Billionaire philanthropist dies in private jet crash. Daughter Eleanor to inherit empire." The photo showed a smiling older man, with Eleanor at his side, both porcelain perfect, both frozen in black and white. "My father. He built all this," she said, sweeping a hand at the skyline. "But he never saw people, only numbers." Her voice broke. 2 months ago, I found out the company's been funding terrible things. Prisons, border camps. I tried to stop. Now they're saying I'm unstable, that the stress of the pregnancy. She pressed a hand to her belly. They want to lock me away, Jamal. Take my baby. And your bus seat? That was the first decent thing anyone's done for me in years. Jamal's head spun. Why me? Eleanor opened a laptop. Security footage played, him helping an old man carry groceries last winter, him tutoring a kid from his building in math. I've been watching, she said. You have a habit of being human in a world that rewards the opposite. She slid a business card across the piano. Johnson Holdings. Marcus's company logo, a rising sun. They're connected to this mess, and I think you're the only person left who might help me burn it down. Back at the Lux Horizon, Marcus stared at the audit reports. The numbers didn't lie. Wage theft, racial bias in promotions, every corner cut to please shareholders. His vision, his mother's dream, had been hollowed out. He reached for his phone, then paused. A notification flashed. Eleanor Whitmore. Requests emergency meeting. The Whitmore Foundation? His biggest investor. In Park Avenue, Jamal stared at the card, the same logo from the napkin. Why would a billionaire's daughter need me? Eleanor's smile was grim. Because they'll never see you coming. Somewhere, clocks ticked. 2 men, one in a penthouse, one in a palace, felt the ground shift beneath them. The city held its breath. Marcus stormed into the boardroom, audit report slapping against the mahogany table. The air smelled like expensive cologne and fear. 6 pairs of eyes tracked him, men who'd once clapped him on the back at ribbon cuttings. Richard, his COO, leaned back, arms crossed. Audit? He scoffed. You're torpedoing stock value over a few disgruntled temps? Marcus slid a photo across the table. Rosa's son, wide-eyed in a hospital bed, clutching a handmade get-well. Goodie for mom's boss seemed it read in crayon. His inhaler costs $300, Marcus said. Rosa's working 70-hour weeks to afford it, while we pocket millions. The room stiffened. A clock ticked. Somewhere a cell phone buzzed, nervous, persistent. Jamal crouched in the library, Eleanor's laptop open to a spreadsheet. Johnson Holdings investments snaked through private prisons, oil pipelines, and, his breath hitched, the Lux Horizon hotel chain. The logo's rising sun mocked him. Marcus Johnson, CEO. The same man from the news clip Eleanor showed. Him stoic, polished. The same man who'd built an empire while people like Rosa cleaned his floors. Jamal's finger hovered over the print button, but doubt crept in. Eleanor's tears on the bus had felt real. What if this was another lie? He texted his mom. Need to stay late a school project. The lie tasted sour. Rosa's mop bucket clattered as she hurried down the staff hallway. A manager had cornered her an hour ago. Heard you've been chatting with strangers, Rosa. Careful who you trust. Now her locker hung open, its contents ransacked. A photo of her son lay torn. She pressed a hand to her mouth, stifling. A sob. Across the hall, a young bellhop watched, guilt twisting his face. They made me, he whispered. Said they'd deport my cousin. Rosa didn't answer. She texted Marcus. They know. Eleanor paced her penthouse, the baby, kicking fiercely. Her father's old security chief had called twice. Miss Whitmore, we're concerned for your well-being. Code for we're coming. She stuffed files into a duffel. Evidence of offshore accounts, bribes, Marcus's board members dining with senators. A photo slipped out, her father shaking hands with a warden at a detention center. She'd been 12, clutching her nanny's hand, oblivious in a pink dress. Now, she scrawled an address on hotel stationery. The only safe place left. Marcus stood at Rosa's son's hospital bedside, the beep of monitors drowning his rage. The boy slept, tiny under wires. Rosa's sister glared from a plastic chair. You gonna fix this? She hissed. His phone buzzed. Eleanor's meeting reminder. Whitmore Foundation, 8 p.m. He'd ignored her calls for days. Now, staring at the IV drip, he typed, "I'll be there." Jamal ducked into a bodega, Eleanor's files stuffed under his hoodie. The clerk nodded, a familiar face from his neighborhood. "Rough night?" she asked, sliding him a soda. He almost told her everything. Instead, he paid in quarters. Outside, a black sedan idled. The same sharp-jawed receptionist from 450 Park Ave stared through the windshield. Jamal bolted, heart thrashing. The car didn't follow. A test? A warning? At the Lux Horizon, Marcus entered the empty conference room. Eleanor stood by the window, her silhouette fragile against the city lights. She turned, holding a baby ultrasound photo. "They're using your hotels to launder money," she said. "You're bored, my father's friends. They've been trafficking workers through the service entrances." Marcus's phone lit up. Rosa's text. "They know." Cold dread slithered down his spine. "Why tell me?" he asked. Eleanor's laugh was hollow. "Because you're the only one who'll believe a pregnant madwoman and a kid from the bus." Jamal burst into his apartment, files spilling. His mom stood frozen, holding Eleanor's stationery. "Meet me, 3I-21 Elm Saint tonight." "What is this?" she whispered. Before he could answer, headlights flashed outside. Two figures approached their door. The city hummed, indifferent. In a hospital, a CEO clenched a child's crayon drawing. In a penthouse, an heiress cradled a gun. On a fire escape, a boy hit send on a video, exposing it all. Then, deleted it, trembling. Trust was a currency they'd all run out of. The clock ticked. The doors knocked. The truth waited. Marcus's driver took the turns too fast, the city lights smearing into streaks. The ultrasound photo Eleanor had given him lay on the seat, its grainy image burning into his peripheral vision. Trafficking workers, laundering money. His hotels, his name. The board's threats hissed in his memory. "Walk away, Marcus, or we'll bury you with the rest." He thumbed Rosa's latest text. Men in suits came to the hospital, and told the driver to floor it. Jamal's mom gripped his arm, her nails digging into his skin. The knock came again, harder. "Open up, police!" a voice barked. But the peephole showed no badges, only shadows shifting. Jamal's phone buzzed, an unknown number. 321 Elm Saint now, Eleanor's address. His mom shook her head, tears glinting, but Jamal pried the files from her hands. "They want these," he whispered, shoving them under the couch. The door shuddered on its hinges. Eleanor's penthouse. Elevator dinged. She raised the gun, her swollen belly brushing the piano keys. The doors slid open. Not her father's security chief. A woman in a Lux Horizon housekeeping uniform. Rosa, eyes wide with panic. "Mr. Johnson sent me," she panted. "They're coming for you, for all of us." Behind her, the stairwell door creaked. Boots thudded. Marcus's town car screeched to a halt outside 321 Elm Saint, a boarded-up diner. Eleanor's safe house. He'd expected a fortress, not this decay. Inside, Jamal stood over a table scattered with photos, security footage of service entrances, trucks loading workers in chains. The boy's face paled. "You're him," Jamal breathed. "The CEO." Marcus reached for the files, but Jamal yanked them back. "Why should I trust you?" An engine roared outside. Black SUVs. Rosa pressed the gun into Eleanor's trembling hand. "Take it," she urged. "Protect your baby." Eleanor's finger grazed the trigger. The stairwell door burst open. Richard, Marcus's COO, stepped through, flanked by men with earpieces. "Miss Whitmore," he smiled, "let's discuss your early retirement." Jamal's mom screamed as their apartment door splintered. Two men lunged in, grabbing Jamal's arms. "Where are the files?" "One," snarled. His breath reeked of mint and malice. Jamal thrashed, knocking over a lamp. The man pulled a syringe. "Don't make this messy." A crash. Marcus's driver barreled through the wrecked door, fists flying. "Run!" he yelled at Jamal. In the diner, Marcus tackled Jamal. behind the counter as bullets peppered the walls. Glass shattered. The SUVs disgorged black-clad figures. Jamal's voice shook. "Why are they trying to kill us?" Marcus reloaded Rosa's gun, a tiny silver thing. "Because we're the only ones left who can talk." Eleanor's gun wavered. Richard stepped closer. "Your father wouldn't want this," he purred. "Put it down and we'll make sure your child is cared for." Rosa lunged, swinging a fire extinguisher. The shot rang out. The city held its breath. In a hospital, a boy gasped for air. In a diner, a CEO shielded a teen. In a penthouse, a gun smoked. And somewhere, a clock struck midnight. The gunshot echoed through the penthouse. Richard clutched his shoulder, blood seeping through his tailored suit as he staggered back. But Eleanor wasn't the one who'd fired. Rosa stood frozen in the doorway, the smoking pistol in her hand, her face a mask of terror. "They have my son," she whispered. Across the room, Richard laughed, a wet, gurgling sound. "You think he's the only leverage we have?" He tapped his watch. A hologram flickered to life above it. Security. Footage of Marcus's mother, frail and confused, being led out of her nursing home by men in Lux Horizon uniforms. "Family reunion," Richard spat, courtesy of the board. In the diner, Marcus's phone buzzed with the same hologram. His blood turned to ice. Jamal stared at the frail woman on the screen. "Who is that?" he asked. Marcus didn't answer. He was too busy reading the timestamp. 20 minutes ago. His mother was alive. She'd been missing for years, declared dead after vanishing from her dementia care facility. Now here she was, blinking into a camera, wearing a hotel bathrobe. "They've had her this whole time," Marcus choked, "to control me." Jamal's phone lit up, a text from his mom. "They took me. Don't trust Eleanor." Attached was a photo of her tied to a chair in a room with familiar marble floors, the Lux Horizon lobby. The same spot where Marcus had been turned away, the same spot where hours ago Rosa's son had been wheeled into an ambulance. Eleanor's knees buckled. She gripped the piano for balance as Richard's men advanced. "Your father taught me this trick," Richard sneered, dabbing his wound with a monogrammed handkerchief. "Always keep a spare air." He nodded to a man holding a briefcase. Inside, a tiny vial of blood labeled Whitmore DNA, Subject B. Eleanor's hand flew to her belly. "You'll never touch my child," she hissed. "We don't need to," Richard said. The hologram shifted. A lab, rows of incubators, each holding a tiny, squirming form. "Your father's been perfecting cloning since the 90s. You're just the backup plan." Marcus's driver lay unconscious in Jamal's shattered apartment as the teen scrolled through the files on his cracked phone. A name leapt out, one he'd seen on old family court papers. Lionel Thompson, his father, not vanished, not dead, listed as Asset 7743 in a Johnson Holdings labor report. "He's alive," Jamal breathed. The report's location tag glowed. Site 9, Lux Horizon, Sublevel 6. Rosa's phone buzzed. A voicemail from her son's doctor, sent 3 hours earlier. "Ms. Rivera, we've moved Miguel to a specialty facility," Mr. Johnson insisted. In the background, a man's voice growled, "Tell her he's with Grandpa now." Grandpa Marcus's missing mother, Jamal's vanished father, Eleanor's dead patriarch. The pieces clicked. Somewhere beneath the Lux Horizon's glittering lobby, in a sub-level sealed off from city maps, an old man in a wheelchair monitored the chaos. On a wall of screens, his face, a weathered mirror of Eleanor's, glowed in the static. Whitmore Sr. smiled as he stroked the hair of a woman humming beside him, Marcus's mother. "They'll be here soon," he told her. "All our wayward children." She nodded, vacant-eyed, stitching a quilt from patches of hotel uniforms. One square bore a name tag, Lionel. The city's heartbeat quickened. In a penthouse, a daughter aimed a gun at her father's ghost. In a diner, a son raced toward the father. He'd buried, and deep underground a kingpin waited, His chessboard set, his legacy hungry. The endgame had begun.